Hey guys, this is Mr. Grice for Algebra Unit 10.1 Notes, Video Number 2. If you're looking at this and your sheet is blank, you need to go back and watch video number 1. Alright, so we are now talking about correlation versus causation. Let's look at our real world example. It says Johnny collected data from his science experiment. He wanted to see if there's a relationship between a person's shoe length and their height. A table of values containing the data he collected, as well as a scatter plot representing the data is shown below. Okay, so now I think you guys are missing one point on yours, and that would be that one right there, which is 12.674, the first one. So you guys can go ahead and add that in. Now, when you're looking at this, we need to think to ourselves, is this graph showing a positive correlation or a negative correlation? So what I did in class is I kind of drew a line to figure it out. And overall, it's showing that it's positive. Okay? And if we're looking at the points, they kind of go up. They're not too far off. They're not too close yet either. The things that I would use to describe this is, one, we said that it's positive. Okay? We know for a fact that it's going up. 2, how would you describe it? Would you say it's perfect, strong, moderate, or weak? Well, we know it's not perfect. It's definitely not strong. And so would it be weak or would it be moderate? I'd say that this is a moderate correlation. Okay? So let's read what the next part says. It said that Johnny concluded that height causes a larger shoe length. Do you agree with Johnny? And defend your answer using at least one complete sentence. So what Johnny's concluding is saying that if you were tall, you're going to have a large shoe size, no matter what. 100%, that's the case. What do you think about that? Hopefully you're saying no, Mr. Grice. Just because you're tall doesn't mean that you have big shoes, okay? And that's true, okay? Now, I would write down what we just said. There is a moderate correlation. Okay? So moderate means that, yeah, there is some, but it's not always going to happen. So there's a moderate correlation between the values. Okay? But, so tall people don't automatically have big feet. Okay? And we could say the same thing about small people. Okay? The same goes for short people. Okay? Just because you're short doesn't mean your shoes are going to be small. Okay? So that's what he was trying to conclude, and it just doesn't say that. Now, since there's a positive moderate correlation, bigger people tend to have larger shoe sizes. But that is not certain. Okay, that's why there's only a moderate correlation to that. All right, let's go ahead and flip it over. So, correlation does not always equal causation. All right, remember that correlation is a relationship between two variables. That's the same definition that we used on the other side. And causation is a relationship where one variable, whether it's a thing, event, or an action, causes the other to happen. Okay? So, The key thing to remember is that a strong correlation between two variables does not automatically mean that is a cause and effect relationship. Okay? Now let's look at a couple of examples from that. Remember, if you need those definitions or to go back, pause or just rewind the video. Number 12. There's a strong correlation between the amount of heat used in the household and the outside temperature. Okay? So here are two things we're talking about. We're talking about heat and we're talking about the outside temperature. Is there a cause and effect relationship between the two? So let's think about it. If it's cold outside, what do you do? Or if it's warmer outside, what do you do? Okay? Does that affect the temperature of your house? And guys, the answer to that is yes. Okay? Especially after this last winter we had. When it gets cold outside, what do you do? I don't know about you, but when it's cold outside, we turn up the heat. Okay? So when it's cold outside, it causes people to turn up the heat. So turn the heat up. Okay, people don't like to be cold. So that cold weather causes, it's a cause and effect relationship because of that. Let's look at our next one. In 2002, a study reported that there's a positive correlation between what two things? People with two cars and having a longer lifespan. Is there a cause and effect relationship between the two? Okay, so what they're saying is, if you have two cars, you're going to live longer than somebody else. What do you think? Is that true or false? No. Okay. And the reason, just because a person has two cars doesn't mean they're automatically going to live longer. Okay. So just because a person has two cars, that doesn't mean they're going to live longer. Yeah, automatically. That's the key word. So it doesn't mean that you're automatically going to live longer than someone with more or less cars. Okay? And there's a ton of different ways you can look at it. Okay, just because you have two cars, well, having two cars might mean, it probably means you have more money. And if you have more money, Mr. Grice, that means you can pay more for healthcare or better going to see the doctor more often. Or maybe if someone doesn't have a car, maybe they have a bicycle and they ride their bike everywhere and they're healthier. Okay? But that's not a cause and effect relationship. Okay? All right, let's look at the last one. 14. It says the shirt size of a grade school student and the student's vocabulary has a strong positive correlation. Is there a cause and effect relationship between the two? So I'm saying that the shirt size leads to a student's vocabulary. What do you guys think about that? Hopefully, once again, you guys are saying no. Okay, that's not true at all. A student, oh, I'm sorry, I'm spelling this wrong. A student's shirt size doesn't cause their vocabulary to increase. Okay, so an example, a dwarf can still be smart and have a big vocabulary. Okay, just because they're smaller doesn't mean that it limits their brain capacity. Okay, and the same thing goes true with someone who's really, really big. Maybe if they're really, really big, maybe they just can't remember. Who knows? Okay, but there's no cause and effect relationship between the two of those. Okay, now with the partner, you can pause, you can think about two different events that are related but do not have a cause and effect relationship. And if you do this, you got to defend your answer. Okay? You can bring it into Ms. Carranza or myself, and we can talk about that if that's a good example of that. All right. Your homework is 10.1 practice. Now, if you notice the graph, it's not done. That's because you have to do it. Okay? Make sure you go through and be 9 is a 93. So at 9, you go to wherever that is and you put a point. Okay? And then you go to 5 and then you go to wherever 70 is. And you put a point and you just keep doing it and keep doing it. Okay? And then you answer the questions. And then make sure down here it says that all explanations must be written in a complete sentence. Okay? Now, if you have any questions, please come see Ms. Carranza or myself. We would love to help you out. Otherwise, this is Mr. Grice signing off for Algebra Unit 10.1 Notes, video number 2. Thanks for watching.